The claim. Martin Luther made a system where anyone can start their own church if they disagree with whatever is being taught in the one that they currently attend. Now, the argument here is supposed to challenge why it was that Luther by himself was able to make such sweeping claims and reforms when he was not put in a position of ecclesiastical authority to do so. He was not a pope. He was not even a bishop. If he could simply declare himself to be in the right, and if that action justified disobedience to his ecclesiastical authorities, then anyone else can do the same thing. And there's no incentive for anyone to obey anyone else at all. And then this leads to just complete ecclesiastical chaos. Now, my point is not to say that there is no such thing as ecclesiastical chaos, but simply to say that this ecclesiastical chaos does not arise from Luther's own perception of the role of reform and critique. So contrary to the common assumption, Luther did not believe that just anyone at all in the church had the right or the calling to lead a theological or reform movement like he did. This is not because Luther believed he had some unique charism, which many of the Anabaptist leaders did assume for themselves. But instead, Luther believed that he had not only the right, but the duty to speak the truth due to his own external call. Luther didn't simply choose to just study theology and then start a church on his own. He didn't really intend to start a church at all, in fact. Following his ordination to the priesthood, which was his first external call that he had received, which Luther recognized as a call from God, Luther was asked by his own ecclesiastical superior to pursue a doctorate in theology. So this was done by his own theological and spiritual authority. And when he completed his studies, he was awarded that degree. Now, for Luther, this call that he received to be a doctor and the recognition of that call that he received by the granting of the degree was a divine call. It was a call from God. It is because of this external call that Luther received to study, and then the confirmation of that call and his receiving the degree, that Luther had the right to speak to the church beyond his own local context in the way that he did with his writings. Now, for Luther, no one appoints himself to a position of authority, as those positions are given by God through the means of other people. This is true of political authority for Luther, by the way, as well, not just ecclesiastical authority. It was only when Luther was awarded this doctorate that he believed that he had now a responsibility as a result of this vocation to teach the divine word. Luther found a conflict here when he was called as a doctor of theology between his responsibilities as a doctor of theology, which in that calling he had a duty and made a vow to teach the word of God, and the obedience and honor that he owed to his ecclesiastical superiors. And this occurred first with the issue of indulgences, as his calling as a doctor led him to teach the word of God, which he believed did not speak about indulgences and in fact taught directly against this particular practice, where his ecclesiastical authorities were now telling him to promote this teaching of indulgences. And so, as he became a doctor of theology, he vowed to teach the truth, and then this conflict came. He recognized the weight of the responsibility that he had as a doctor of theology, and he recognized that he had taken a vow and had the responsibility to proclaim the truth, even if that truth came into conflict with the teachings of the Pope. While every Christian indeed should study God's truth in His Word, not every Christian is called to be a public minister of the gospel. Not every Christian is called to be a public teacher of theology. It is only when one is given a clear external call to such a position that that individual is put into a place to disagree even with ecclesiastical authorities, publicly and strongly, as Luther himself did. And even then, these decisions must be made carefully, and they must be made with deep prayer. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe here if you have not already, and we'll see you in the next video. God bless.